G'day ladies and gents, and welcome back to War Thunder. Today, we're going to be having a look at the Etendard IVM. This particular plane is, interesting. Honestly, I'll be upfront and say that I don't really like it, to be honest. It's just not my style. We'll see exactly why in the video, but for the most part, this plane is a welcome addition to the French tech tree. It's an indigenous French design. It's got everything indigenous except, I suppose, the missiles, which are AIM-9Bs. It's fairly fast, and it accelerates well. I took this thing for a test flight, and I thought, you know what, I'm really going to enjoy this thing. It accelerates well. It's probably got a decent turn rate. It's probably fast because, look at the stat card. The only thing that I can really sort of think about is that battle rating. 9.3. At 9.3, you can be up tiered maximum of 1.0, putting you at 10.3, making you face the new MiG-21, the MiG-19, the F-4 Phantom. Now, I haven't seen an F-4 Phantom in combat yet. I've only come across F-100Ds at the very most. So it's not that bad in terms of matchmaker, but when it calms down, I can see this thing getting up tiered to 10.3 very, very often. It'll suck. It'll really, honest to God, absolutely suck having a MiG-21 SMT or MF in your matchmaker. But we don't have that in this case, and I would suggest that you make the most of that now. What I'm going to do is I'm going to put myself in a straight line. I'm going to gain as much speed as possible, and then I'm going to try and lure the opponents onto my tail. Once they're on my tail, then I'm going to fly back towards my allies, and they are going to hopefully take every enemy off my tail. We can see there a CL-13, and another one, and soon you'll see another one. There's just going to be so many enemies around here. I pull a quick head-on with this CL-13B, nothing. MiG-15-ish, nothing. I avoid the MiG-15 behind him, and I see myself a juicy A5 Sabre in the front. You can see him there. I'm thinking, yeah, he's probably a little bit slow. He's probably not paying attention. Go for the quick head-on, lead the guns perfectly, and boom. First kill is a head-on. Now, the guns on this plane are frustrating for me, personally, because they're kind of like the Swift F1s. They're sort of halfway down the fuselage, and it takes a lot of practice to get used to. On top of that, you don't have the afterburner that the Swift F7 has on the F1, and this is kind of the case here. You don't really have that sort of acceleration that you might otherwise would have had with an afterburner. The afterburner also gives you some decent altitude performance over the non-afterburning jets, and so I would be able to climb out of the way of these CL-13s, but in this case, I just have to run and dodge the missiles and hope that they're stock. You see, the CL-13B is actually faster on the deck than I am, and the MiG-17, not the MiG-17F, the regular one, is also faster on the deck. This plane tops out at exactly 1100 kph. The MiG-17 and the CL-13B top out somewhere between 1110 and 1120 kilometers per hour. And so, you'll often find yourself in a situation where you have a CL-13 or a MiG-17 and you actually can't shake them off your tail. It's frustrating. And in this case, the CL-13 is pulled off because of the G91 that is nearby. I get really lucky, but most of the time I end up with CL-13s trying to run me down. I have to play super passive because of these guys. They can pretty much do everything that I can do, and a couple of things better, which is extremely frustrating. They have a better wing loading due to the lighter angle and the lesser weight. I think it's less weight, but this is a carrier-borne fighter. It's a strike fighter. It's meant for that multi-role ability, whereas the CL-13 is more of a pure fighter. However, this doesn't stop the Etendard from being, not ideal. Speaking of not ideal, I don't know what the hell that CL-13B was thinking, but doing that in front of me is kind of questionable. J29 decides he wants to come vertical with me while he's got an enemy around him as well. Very smart indeed. And so I'm not able to actually, well, just able to get some shots towards him. Can I get the shots? Can I land the hits? Yes, I land a critical hit. One on his tail, one on his wingtip, and he bails out. Very, very nice work up there from that G91. The G91 is the absolute bane of this plane as well. And in fact, the G91 is the bane of anything that just doesn't turn. In fact, you know what? The G91 is the bane of everything at this sort of battle rating. It's kind of like the 0 of 8.7. It just turns really well in flat turns. And there goes the CL13B from earlier, leaving us with a third kill. So, the Etendard is more a hunter F1 at 9.3 with air-to-air missiles. Yet, at the same time, I think the Etendard trades a little bit of speed for just that little bit of turning ability. I don't really like that, to be honest, because then that puts me in a sort of suboptimal situation against things like the CL13, which I'm sure the Hunter F1 is also familiar with as well. But here you see, again, I'm being run down and all I can do is put the nose down and put it in a straight line. It's really frustrating because I have to constantly work around someone being on my 6 at all times. Because the way this plane works is by staying fast. And in some cases, you can put it into a vertical, or albeit a slight vertical. There are some interesting situations, which I'm sure I'll show you in a second. But you can see here this G91 wants to go head on, and I miss the guns again. For me, the guns are probably the most frustrating part of this plane, and it's something that I need to take the time to learn. And it's something that you'll need to take the time to learn as well. Understand that they're on the bottom of the fuselage halfway down, and this really, really hampers the ability of the plane to, get those weird shots off. Could have very well died there because of a massive misplay on my part and the MiG-15 bis-ish, but I should have seen that coming because at 8.7, this is all too common. It's just, everyone plays so risky. No one plays carefully, and it's really, really upsetting. So, this ish is, I want to get a tasty missile onto him, but I don't want to hit my CL13 teammate, because remember guys, teammates are important. Aim is also important, and this is something that, I don't know, I feel like the Etendard has some sort of hampering, some sort of, I don't know, please be patient, I have autism sort of thing. It doesn't feel right, the guns. And I don't know, I have to get used to it, but I'm going to complain about it because it feels good to complain. Nonetheless, if you have a good teammate, then there are certain situations where it's going to be really beneficial. For example, this MiG-15 has been slowed down, so I'm going to pop a missile off and I'm going to get a missile kill, leaving me with my 4th kill. This G91R is following my friendly, and so I'm going to try and get onto his 6. You can see that he's really slow, so I'm going to put it up into a vertical to store that speed into altitude, redive again, trying not to overspeed myself. I'm going to be nice and careful, line up the shot, and spray a little bit down. There we go. There's my ace. But it's not over yet. There is a Hunter FGA-9. Now, the Hunter FGA-9 is a slightly bit more mobile than the Hunter F6, the Hunter F1, and it also has AIM-9Es, which at this point make it basically a slightly better Etendard. It's going to be interesting. I'll show you the dogfight in a second, but you can see he's closing down on me, and this plane just does not compare to the Hunter F6, which is why I think it shouldn't really be at 9.3. I think this thing should be at 9.0 because it's more akin to a MiG-17 AS or an F2 Sabre. It sort of fits in that meta rather than the slightly higher tier meta. I don't know. I just think that the Etendard is more just one of those, I don't know. It doesn't feel right. It certainly doesn't feel right. But you can see I'm out of cannon, and I'm trying to get a missile lock on him. I'm trying to play this like the top tier jets a little bit. I need to make sure that he goes into a straight line before I can get the missile off, because this is not an SRAM, does not have thrust vectoring, and unfortunately, I'm barely able to do it because he's just getting a lot of mileage out of me. I'm very slow though, And the Hunter FGA-9 has a great amount of speed and acceleration. I could have had him here. If I had saved my ammunition, if I had a better aim, I would have had him. And instead, I decide to get a little bit impatient. You can see he's pulling some negative Gs, and I send a missile down the way. It's way too close, and it just does not hit the target, which means that I have to turn around and go back to base, especially on a minute and a half of fuel. You're not going to see any more greatness from me in this plane, because honestly, it's very impatient. I'm a very impatient person, and flying it just, I don't know, I don't enjoy it. It's just one of those planes that I can't take the fight to the enemy, and so I don't really, feel the love, if you will. Now, this FGA-9 comes back with the same ammunition, same everything, and he manages to get behind me. I don't know how he did it, but I don't know, maybe I was just too heavy, maybe I had too much fuel on board, maybe I know I didn't play my plane right. I was extremely aggressive, and it just did not work out because I wasted my energy, I wasted my plane, I played it poorly. And as a result, I suffer the consequences. Instead of having a nice 6k kill, or 6-kill game, that I could have shown you guys, you get an ace and some really fucking poor gameplay. Honestly, the Etendard is a decent jet for those of you who like to play around and go fast, but for me, I don't like it because I can't play and I can't take the fight to my opponents. That for me is the most important part, taking the fight to my enemies. I need to be able to dictate the way an engagement happens, and having them all on my 6 isn't really ideal. Having to deal with something that is faster and can outturn you is extremely stressful, and honestly, I don't enjoy that kind of gameplay. If you want to play it in a 4-man squad, I reckon this thing would be amazing. But for me, who plays mostly solo, I think I'm going to give the Etendard a little bit more of a miss. I think I prefer the Super Mystère over it, to be honest. Just because in this meta, the Super Mystère is a little bit more capable. Obviously, as you go to higher tiers, it's less capable. But for me, the Super Mystère is able to do those little aggressive maneuvers, obviously one at a time and not multiple in one go. But for the most part, it's really not my style. But I hope you guys enjoy it. Anyway, ladies and gents, take care, and I'll catch you next time.